Hello, and welcome back to another Imperator Rome Dev Diary. This one entitled The Longest Diary by Arheo. So, strap on in, let's get ready to go. I suppose this is going to be a long one. Let's take a look. First of all, we have a word from Arheo, the game director over at Imperator Rome. What he says to us is, "Greetings all. Today, you'll be taken through a deep dive into the Antigonid mission trees coming in the Heirs of Alexander pack." Fantastic. So, 2 weeks ago, we got the Ptolemaic Egypt mission trees, and last week we got the Thracian Lysimachus mission trees, and this week we're getting the Antigonid mission trees as part of the Heirs of Alexander content pack, and of course the Heirs of Alexander is a reference to the Diadochi because Alexander's own heir was, killed by the Antipatrids, right? Yeah. I think that's right. Okay, before we get started on that, however, I have a few housekeeping points to mention. Firstly, this will be the last Dev Diary of the year, as we're leading up to Christmas vacations. Secondly, this also means that, indeed, Marius and Heirs of Alexander will not be coming this year. This is a very comprehensive update, and we're going to take the time to get it right. Okay, that's good. I think that they should do that. Yet you came here not for housekeeping, but for content, and content we shall provide. Well, on the contrary, I also came here for a little bit of housekeeping, because I want to know when the release date is. But this is the first explicit reference to a release date in these dev diaries that I can think of, and it doesn't say anything about it except that it's not coming yet. So they're taking their time, and I support that very much. I don't think they should rush this. They got to get this right, and it is a very ambitious project, and I'm liking pretty much everything I'm seeing from it so far. So let's get into it. In a few dev diaries ago, we talked about this art in the background. I still think it looks fantastic, and yeah, we get another glimpse of that here. We have the heir to the throne here. We have the ruler here. The august reign of Antigonus, the first monophthalmos Antigonid. Yeah, that's a pretty long name. Antigonus Antigonid, the one-eyed, course, and yeah, I think they're going to talk about these buttons down here. So Demetrius here, this is Demetrius. He's the heir to the throne of his father Antigonus. Now there are several other pretenders / claimants, and it looks like you can click on this anoint button, lose 15 political legitimacy and even more, or political influence, excuse me, because I was getting ahead of myself. You lose 25 legitimacy, and that's a much bigger hit than this 15 political influence, because you earn this back, in a few months, right? Depending on the rate at which you accrue political influence, you'll earn this back pretty quickly. Legitimacy, though, if you dip down too far in that legitimacy, boy, you're going to have a lot of pretenders and problems, typical general problems, and it's harder to get your legitimacy back. It takes a longer amount of time. So, gains heir apparent succession value plus 1,000. Succession value, that is a new value category. I think. I'm not aware of it before. Before it was, what, heir attractiveness or something? Some such mechanic. It looks like they've replaced it with succession value, which is good. That's a little bit more straightforward than the heir attractiveness. Too vague. All right, let's see what it's about. Some of you have noticed this button in an early version of the UI rework. Yes, I noticed it. I just noticed it again. The time has come to explain more. Selecting heirs in monarchies. Okay, very cool. So monarchies are already much more popular to play than republics, and I'm looking for that trend to continue, especially with extra mechanics that mainline things even more in this process. No longer will the line of succession be an immutable certainty altered only by accidental death. Well, sometimes it's not accidental. For a hefty cost in resources and perceived legitimacy, you will be able to grant your approval to anyone in your ruler's direct line of succession. As you might imagine, this may have consequences amongst the other successors. Yeah, so I have personally, and I know a lot of other people have been wanting this particular mechanic for a long time. There's no reason why a powerful ruler would not be able to anoint their own heir, especially in early times. You have a mechanic for this in recently released Crusader Kings 3, of course. It's tied to crown authority, so if you have limited crown authority, you can't appoint your heir. You can only appoint your heir, anoint your heir, declare your heir with the highest level of crown authority, and that works perfectly well for the medieval times and for that game. But for this, you need something. You need something to give the player a bit more control over this whole thing. If you have a really good, second or third son or something, you really want someone to take the throne, and this dude is in your way. There should be a political solution to that problem, and there will be. Okay, this minor feature, minor. Okay, they're calling it minor. That's good. That gives you some context into the scope of the project that they're doing for Marius 2.0 and the Heirs of Alexander DLC pack. So they're really trying to make this a big deal, because this is just a minor feature, apparently. I mean, I guess it's just a button, all things said and done, but whatever. I like it. I like it a lot. This minor feature is something we've wanted to add for a while, and in the course of doing so, it became apparent that this allowed for the creation of an additional government type, namely an elective monarchy. Elective monarchy. So that's different from your typical monarchy and your republic, obviously. Strictly speaking, there were no traditionally elective successions that we know of during our standard time period. Yes, that is a challenge. Prove me wrong. Cool. I hope somebody is looking into that. However, the election of kings was a tradition which exists in many of our coronations' histories, including Rome. Monarchy government types will be able to enable elective succession with a law, as with other succession types. Okay. Interesting. So you can choose, instead of the oldest son or whatever, you can choose that the next ruler be appointed by election. Similarly to CK3, and especially the HRE mechanics, and the Kingdom of England mechanics, I think, you get elected from the nobility. The nobility elects the next ruler. This variety of succession law greatly reduces all ordinary contributions to succession value, and instead gives all eligible characters in your nation a vote towards the next monarch. All eligible characters. Yeah, okay. I thought that was going to say. I thought that said citizens. Citizens first. Okay, characters in your nation, because they're like nobility. A vote towards the next monarch chosen from amongst their valid successors. The factors behind their preference for any given candidate are quite wide, including different stats, culture, religion, and quite prominently, age. You will still be able to anoint a chosen candidate from the anoint successor feature. However, this will be much less impactful than it is in other succession types. Makes sense. In practice, elective monarchies can result in an unpredictable succession that yields you a monarch of advanced age. Why would this be good? Well, aside from being pretty fun and encouraging out-of-the-box thinking in order to manipulate elections, successors in elective monarchies do not receive a pretender loyalty malice. They put all their energy into getting themselves elected and not stirring up trouble. That's good. I know that I might be overusing that word a little bit here, but the thing is that the pretender mechanic, while good, there it is again, while certainly fitting to the game and everything, and a great mechanic, I do enjoy the pretenders, and I think that they fit, they're needed, but not every power struggle is manifested that way, or was manifested that way. It's not just like, hey, I don't like you, so I'm going to be a pretender, especially when the pretender is like the grandson, the ruler's grandson, who will become heir, upon your death and all of this. Like, when it really just doesn't make sense to have a pretender. We need something out. There's too much pretending. There's too much pretending going on. So, if they're legitimately trying to win an election, then they're not going to raise a force and go be a pretender or anything like that. It's going to be a different way. It's going to be a different relationship, different way of interacting with characters like that. Another way to shake up the game. Unit models. Okay, so that's it for this anoint feature, which I think speaks to, I guess, Imperator sort of. I mean, they're trying to come into their own with this 2.0 patch, and you need details like this in order to make a truly immersive and rewarding experience for the player. Now, I do notice, again, some other things on here. Last week, we talked about this icon. This represents a port, and it looks like it's just a one-tier port. Okay, so all of them are one-tier ports. But we have these arrows here. We have this icon. We have a pillar. I don't know what those are. I can only identify the port icon from last week. Let's continue. Unit models, also very exciting. Very cool stuff. They look fantastic. We'll read about them in a second here. Soak it all in. Okay, so two more unit types, unit models, let's say. We're not all the way there yet, but here's a preview of the Scythian, Levy, and Legion model. So the Legion, of course, is the more heavy armor build, and this is the Levy, the lighter armor. Take another look there. So this is the Scythians up like modern day Ukraine area, and Iberic culture group soldiers also looking good, looking very good. The map of Imperator Rome is still pristine. I still love the map. I think I'm really pumped for Marius 2.0. It's gonna be good, and the Heirs of Alexander DLC. All right, and now it's over to Chomp Mist to take you through the Antigonid mission coming in the Heirs of Alexander DLC, and our latest attempt at creating the longest dev diary known to man. Arhio. All right, well, thank you, Arhio. Let's go to Chomp Mist, a content designer. Salve, Joe. Oh, is it Joe or Chomp Mist? Those are very different things. Joe from Content Design here, and it's my turn to take you through some of what we've been cooking up for our upcoming expansion, Heirs of Alexander. This time it's missions for the Antigonid Kingdom, with some other treats thrown in. This is probably my favorite Diodaki realm, mine too. I did a playthrough of the Antigonid Kingdom, which you're welcome to view here on the channel, and we had a great time in that campaign. I'm probably going to have to do another Antigonid run, because it's going to be all different. We'll definitely try to cover some others first and make it not too Antigonid heavy, but to be perfectly honest, I will divulge this here. My personal favorite to play as is Antigonus the One-Eyed. It's just the most fun. I like the real estate that he starts with. I like it, the Eastern Mediterranean power base he has, Cyprus, what will become Antioch, of course, that's under the Seleucids, but who cares? And building up that area, taking over Macedon, even you can now adopt the Macedon tag as the Antigonid Kingdom, and it's great fun. It's great fun to play as Antigonus right now, currently, and you have to take over Corinth right before Antigonus dies, basically. Otherwise, the entire kingdom falls apart. And I'm guessing there's going to be some elaboration or a more sophisticated rendition of that whole take Corinth before Antigonus dies early objective for the Antigonid Kingdom. So let's see what this is all about. Okay, so this is probably my favorite Diodaki realm, featuring towering personalities, compelling what-ifs, and an interesting underdog story. Exactly. So Antigonus... I'll talk just a little bit more about Antigonus here. Antigonus was the closest of the Diodaki to taking all of Alexander's massive, unwieldy, impossible empire for himself. He was the only one who came close at all. So he starts in control of basically Anatolia, Syria, the Levant, Cyprus, and with a whole bunch of client states. On the west coast of Anatolia, Cappadocia, and Judea, all of this. And so they start in that situation, which is really good. And prior to that, all the Seleucid territory also belonged to Antigonus. So he really had almost all of it, except for he never had Egypt, and he never had Macedon, and he never had Greece. So those are three extremely important parts. But nobody else ever could accrue the massive amount of territory he had. Now, like Alexander, it couldn't be held together, but just a point of fact that Antigonus got closer than anyone else. Antigonus the One-Eyed is an often overlooked Diodaki state. I don't get it. Anyway, remembered for its defeat at Ipsus and outshone by the more enduring Seleucids and Egyptians. Despite the fact that he enjoyed decades of dominance, had an immense impact, and left a gripping story of fortune's cruel reversals. Oh, and I just got to say again about Antigonus. He was 90. I don't know how old he was. He was really old. He was nursing home age when he led his last battle, the famous Battle of Ipsus, where he was slain. Now, this general was something close to invincible in his career. So one of Alexander's most trusted commanders. He served with Philip II, Alexander's father. Very respected war commander, and it definitely a force to be reckoned with on the battlefield. And then he met his end as a very old man, killed on the battlefield, with his boots on and all that. It's just, I don't know how a film has not been made about Antigonus the One-Eyed yet. I actually want to look up exactly how old he was. Yeah, here we go. Still, age 81. This is in 301 BC, when there was no such thing as modern medicine. So yeah, the man lived to be 81, riding around conquering stuff for who knows? Probably since he was a teenager, right? So 65 years on the back of his horse, slain in battle in Ipsus, the famous Battle of Issus, and was succeeded then by his son. Okay, so that's enough fanboying out about Antigonus. Let's go. His domain's disappearance only a few years later, after our start date, offered an interesting design challenge with only... Yeah, okay, so I'm going to stop reading and again offer my thoughts. And I just talked about how much I love playing as the Antigonid Kingdom. However, it did bother me that, was it half and half? Not enough. Not frequently enough does the Antigonid Kingdom split when the AI is playing as them. And obviously we know that the entire state basically disappeared when he was slain on the battlefield. And Demetrius, I think, was imprisoned or escaped or something. I don't know. But the empire fell apart. I mean, it was gone with Antigonus' death. And this is not faithfully represented in Imperator Rome at all. I mean, there's nothing, even there's no attempt even. Really, you know, you fail to take Corinth, and then Antigonus dies, and then it might split up and might not, and there's always a fight. But the Antigonid Kingdom is pretty much always around at the end, even if it's a very reduced sort of state. By the end, it never disappears. It should disappear because that's what happened to it. If it's defeated, it should go away entirely, not just be reduced to a miniature version of itself. Okay, so I want to know how they address this design challenge, because it's really sink or swim with them. It's win the initial battle with the other Diadochi or die basically immediately as the Antigonid Kingdom. The kingdom will not survive if you don't win this war. I think that's really how it should be. Not explicitly, of course. You can have a challenging test to try to get out of it, but that's typically how it should go, I think. Okay. With only the preceding history and what the ancient historians wrote of the characters to guide their immediate objectives, I wanted to allow for the interesting possibilities of an alternative history, Antigonid victory, as well as the historic flight of the dynasty to Macedon after Antigonus' defeat, and of course please those who just want the big yellow fridge to crash and burn as quickly as possible. I was just talking about that. The fridge, yes, that's a reference to the Antigonid Kingdom, earlier being called Phrygia, because Antigonus was the satrap of Phrygia when he was a governor of sorts in Alexander's empire. So the devs didn't know what to call that political entity, so they opted to use Phrygia. And in the early versions of the game, in the early days, YouTubers and the like would refer to Phrygia as the fridge and would frequently want to see them crash and burn. So I'm glad that they're keeping us in mind. In the end, the Antigonids received 3 mission trees, the first focusing on their historical struggles in our period, and the third offering some alt history for Antigonus' vision. By the game's start, Antigonus has already spent the 29 years since the Battle of Issus, slowly consolidating his power from Calaenaea, his capital in the satrapy of Phrygia, and at this point the fall of his kingdom was perhaps difficult to imagine. Yeah, very powerful. Having remained in the west of Alexander's empire, Antigonus was not caught up in the excesses and adventures of the eastern expeditions. As a member of Philip's second generation, he perhaps viewed these ventures more soberly than the younger royal companions he would later face, especially given the murder of his closer contemporaries, Cletus the Black and Parmenion, by the king. Right, so Parmenion, yeah. So this is reference to others who were also Philip the second's generation, not Alexander's generation. So his father's generation, older than Alexander, as was Antigonus, now having already almost lost everything fleeing from the region of Perdiccas soon after Alexander's death. Antigonus has reconquered his holdings and beaten the Perdican satraps of Anatolia, including the famed Greek general Eumenes, whom he chased all the way back to Media. Persia has since been abandoned to Seleucus, the satrap of Babylon, but despite this, Antigonus rules over a vast realm, stretching from the Hellespont to the Euphrates and Judea. He has recently declared himself joint Basileus, king, with his son Demetrius after the naval victory over Ptolemy at Salamis. So we start the game, the text that pops up at the beginning sort of set the stage. It tells you that this is right after the naval battle at Salamis, where Ptolemy's fleet was sunk, and Antigonus emerged the victor, simultaneously elevating his dynasty from petty nobility to royalty, claiming his lands as independent from the authority of Cassander in Macedon. and introducing his heir to his eastern subjects early to ensure a smooth transition upon his death, his heir being Demetrius. To guarantee his dynasty's survival, he looks to reverse setbacks in the Diadochi Wars and develop his capital Antigonea as a center of power at the crossroads of the east, ensuring the fruits of decades of statecraft are not seized by Alexander's jumped-up bodyguards and remain in the family. Very well said, very well said. Okay, so we have the first mission tree, which is called Antigonus's Vision, and it very well sets up this historical dichotomy, this historical scenario reality that Antigonus found himself in at the start of the game. Okay, so let's take a look at this image. Looking good, looking good. So this looks a bit more polished than recent... Well, I don't know if that's true, actually. But, yeah, cool. So, yeah, it's all about setting the stage of Antigonus, who he is, what his mentality is, how he feels about his younger, again, younger, for the most part, rivals. I think Ptolemy is his same generation. Maybe he's younger, too. Antigonus is the elder statesman of the group. He's definitely the oldest. I think he was even older than Philip, and Philip's been dead a long time now. So there's the first mission tree. It's all about Antigonus the man, and Antigone, and the Antigonid dynasty as it was at the family. The main branches focus on the long-held ambition of securing Greece, starting with the strategic city of Corinth, right, as we mentioned before, and on keeping the other Diadochi in check with diplomatic and economic opportunities along the way. Antigonus' relations with the Greeks, particularly the Athenians, Ionians, and Aeolians, is one of his main legacies, epitomized by his Tyre proclamation, which promised to protect the autonomy of all Greek cities. His overtures not only secured alliances, but also provided vital manpower to bolster the Macedonian armies depleted by decades of war. What is this now? Attract Greek colonists, new lives in the east. So this is a thing we have seen in previous dev diaries, in recent weeks. Sorry, I'm just looking at these Phoenician cities building ships here. That's cool. Okay, whatever. So yeah, so this is a thing now. This is an event. This is something you can sort of try to make happen. You can boost the amount of Greek colonists that come live in your lands to help sort of offset the cultural issues that you might be having if you're not able to integrate everybody that you would like to integrate. Now, the Antigonid Kingdom does start out with a couple of integrated cultures, I think, but definitely a very heavy... The ruling class is a very, very small minority, and that's another difficulty that you encounter as the Antigonid. It's not as bad as with the Seleucids, but it's one of the challenges. So, yeah, let's take a look. Our envoys and magistrates have done their best to drum up enthusiasm for further Greek colonization, using whatever means necessary, while our surveyors pored over our holdings looking for the most suitable sites for resettlement. Their efforts have not been in vain, evidently. There's not an insignificant number of colonists ready to settle at our chosen site, which awaits only the final word of our Basilius, who plans to name the colony after Antigonus Monophthalus' father, Philippos. So you get to choose... Cool. Alright, so this is awesome. I'm glad that you can choose like which site to send them to, because that has to do with strategy. This is a strategy game after all, so you can choose which of these 4 territories is most in need of Greek colonists. Send them that way. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Okay. Many of the later great cities of Syria were arguably merely renamed by the Seleucids and were in fact originally settled by Antigonus, using veterans of the Argead army, which passed to his command from Antipaters at Tripardisus. Yeah, I pronounced that right. For example, Apamea was originally given the reassuringly Macedonian name of Pella. Well, there you go. Avenging the recent setback of his mishap-prone son Demetrius will be a pressing concern, the defeat at Rhodes being particularly galling given Ptolemy's involvement. Okay. Rhodian closure, Antigonus Poliarchetes. We have at last, but the loathsome Rhodians, who attempted to stay out of the Diadochi conflicts while reaping the benefits of our protection, in their place. Demetrios' humiliation has now been satisfied by the fruits of Nike, and the might of the Antigonids placed beyond doubt. Tear it down, they owe us. The Rhodians now know their place. So you can destroy roads. And one thing you get out of that is taking Ptolemy's nickname from him. You can take away his nickname. You get 150 gold. You destroy the Colossus. And you gain the Vengeful trait. Or you can just be like, yeah, we won. It's all good. Interesting. Oh, well, I wonder what you get for the second option. As first option, frankly, doesn't look that good. That's not worth the city of Rome. It's not worth the Colossus, if you ask me. Ultimately, the Antigonids will aim to unite all Greece, revive Philip's League of Corinth as a protectorate, and declare themselves as the true successors of the Argiads. Okay, so we have attract Greek colonists highlighted here. Now, this is clear. We have arrows up top, so that will indicate that this is not the first, branch of the tree, as it were. We have Diadochicontis, Antigonea's port, so build up the capital, which later became Antioch, of course. Hellenic Liberator, attract Greek colonists. Rhodian closure, so I guess this is getting your revenge on Rhodes. And formalized divinity, so you probably deify good old Antigonus, the one-eyed, at the end of all of this. Hopefully, I mean, that's my guess. Now, I do think, in making the League of Corinth, does that mean, like, you conquer the Peloponnese and then release it as the League of Corinth? If they sort of redid vassals in that way, or client states, tributaries, protectorates, what have you, because they don't use this word, protectorate. They use feudatory, client state, a few others, but not protectorate. So I don't know what that means in the context of compared to Rome. So I guess that you have to catch and release, maybe? Don't know. The Antigonid cause wavers. Oh wait, sorry. Of course, all this is moot if our favorite Cyclops fails to hold his strategic bastions or cannot conquer Corinth from Cassander before he dies. Okay, so conquering Corinth from Cassander is still the main thing to do. And I don't have a problem with that at all. I think that's good. I'm already in the habit of starting all of my Antigonid runs conquering Corinth from Cassander. That's the thing you do as Antigonus. So you're still going to have to do that. But things are far more interesting now. Okay, the Antigonid cause wavers. As before, falling short will trigger an event, but whereas in the past the Antagonists had to choose between releasing Asia to Pergamum or taking a large hit to their stability, subject loyalty, and legitimacy. Yeah, I mean, I sort of made reference to that earlier in the video. These are the specifics of what I was talking about. So if you fail to take Corinth, you have to release. You have to give all of Asia to Pergamon, basically, or take Asia being Anatolia or Western Anatolia. Taking a large hit to their stability, subject loyalty, and legitimacy. So you just, you're not immediately destroyed, but not taking Corinth, failing to take Corinth before Antigonus dies, you get a lot of negative stuff happening to you, and, well, that's the right idea. Felt a little gamey, let's call it. So let's see what they've come up with to replace that. As before, falling short will trigger an event, but whereas in the past the Antagonists... Okay, I just read that, sorry. I wanted to better depict the consequences of the real-life post-ipsis partition. Good, because it does not feel real to life currently. Splintering their Antagonids in predictable but differing ways depending on their chosen path, and drawing the other Diadochi into conflict over its result. Oh. That's a step above even what I was just contemplating. That's very ambitious. Let me read that again. Splintering the Antagonids in predictable but differing ways depending on their chosen path, and drawing the other Diadochi into conflict over its result. Huh. Okay, so Antigonus croaks. Antigonus dies. But Antigonus did several things in the years, leading up to his death, because you do get to play for him, with him for a little while. So it matters, like, the things that you do before you die will have an impact on how it splinters. I'm very interested in that. I hope they elaborate a bit. The Antigonids can now decide to go west and stake a claim to the turbulent Macedonian heartland by forfeiting Asia to the other Diadochi, or to hold on to a diminished core of eastern territories but lose their sway over Greece. Huh. Okay, so they did elaborate. These are the two different paths, right? So you can choose Greece, or you can choose the east, so-called east. I think that by that they mean Syria and holdings of and Levant area, southern, southeastern Anatolia, or Assyria, maybe. Or you can take the more historical route and go to Greece, because after the Battle of Ipsus, after the Antigonid kingdom as a state fell apart, it was no longer a political entity. The Antigonid dynasty became the kings of Macedonia itself. So their state failed, but their dynasty did not. And this is really the thing that we should be seeing in the design of how events play out in this game, because historically you start out with the Antipatrid dynasty ruling Macedon. The Antipatrids, of course, Cassander and all that, the ones responsible for killing Alexander's heir and Alexander's wife, Roxana, and they are overthrown eventually by, I think, Demetrius himself, Antigonus' son. And then they are the ruling dynasty. The Antigonids are the ruling dynasty of Macedon, not of this Antigonid kingdom, which is mostly in the east Imperator Rome, but in history and real life. The Antigonids ruled Macedon for centuries, and their dynasty was only extinguished at the hands of the Romans. So they were the last Macedonian dynasty. That is how it really... You should really have a mission tree and a series of events to make that a reality in this game. If you lose Ipsus, if you lose out on this whole Corinth mission in the beginning, say the Antigonid kingdom as a state fails, then they have it. They give you another option of taking the eastern territories and running with that. That's cool. That's great. I love choice, and there's something to be said for taking that choice. But you always want at least the option of the true historical route. And in this case, that's placing an Antigonid on the throne of Macedonia if you do the right thing to get there. And in turn gain sway over Greece, over the mainland of Greece, to the south of the Macedonian heartland. Okay, so here we go. The Antigonid cause waivers. Let's read this. So Demetrius here has become king. You can tell by this little thing here. Antigonus is... This background indicates the afterlife or something? I don't know, it's kind of funny. With his passing, the state that Antigonus built out of his Phrygian satrapy stands for the first time without its founder. His meteoric rise once attracted the envy and admiration of a generation, but the arrayed enmity of the other Diadochi tested the old general to the limit. Loyalty among our Asian subjects and their Macedonian administrators is wavering, and myriad provinces are already welcoming our enemies, driving the others dangerously close to defecting from our authority. We must decide whether attempt to keep hold of what remains of Antigonus' eastern core together, or risk the fate of our dynasty on connections with the Greeks in the west. We had three options here. We will return to reclaim what was lost. I think that's going with the Macedonian route. We must not let go of a single city, and that means that you're just gonna fight everybody, I suppose. And the Antigonids are finished. Others have a plan. What? What is this? The Antigonids are finished, others have a plan. So you can choose as the Antigonids to sing the praises of others. Oh, right. Maybe you get to take over as one of these successor states. Huh. Interesting. Okay, well, anyway, they have this highlighted option here. We will return to reclaim what was lost. What happens? The mission Antigonus' vision will be aborted. Antigonus' vision... Is that up here? That what it's called. I don't know if it's called that. Oh, yeah, here. Antigonus' vision, right. Yeah, we just went over that. Okay, Antigonus' vision. So you abort that mission. The mission Macedonian Aspirations will become available. There you go. So that's what I was just talking about. You have a mission tree and a series of events in order to get the Antigonids on that Macedonian throne. Asia and Phrygia will defect as satrapies of Thrace. Oh, so they don't become independent, they become part of Thrace. Bithynia, Epaphlagonia, is that... What is this? Is this French? Is this like... Is this the name of a place? Bithynia, Epaphlagonia? Or did they make a mistake here and accidentally type the French and between Bithynia and Paphlagonia? Because currently Bithynia and Paphlagonia are two different entities. I don't know. And western mainland Cilicia will be seized by Thrace. Okay, so Thrace takes huge advantage of the fall of the Antigonid kingdom. I suppose that's true to history. Palestine will be seized by Egypt. Also true. So after the end of the after the end of the Antigonid kingdom, Judea is of course seized by the Ptolemies, and they have a flourishing sort of relationship for a little while, not for too long. But a Jewish quarter arises in Alexandria. You have a lot of scholarship in the city of Alexandria dedicated to Torah studies and the like. And you have also this phenomenon of Hellenistic Judaism, which comes to a head a bit later under the Seleucids. But this is also something that was not very, very well portrayed. And I anticipated that there would be some sort of DLC in the future on launch when it comes to Judea, because they have a very particular history that is not articulated very well. Here's a start, though. So Palestine goes to Ptolemy. That happens. Then later, historically, the Ptolemies lose that region to the Seleucids. And that's when the Maccabean revolt happens and all that. Okay, and so we didn't finish this. So Palestine will be seized by Egypt, Assyria, Mesopotamia, and Syria, excepting Tyros, will be seized by the Seleucids, also true to history. And then Seleucus, of course, moved his capital to the site of where this game places Antigonea. It becomes Antioch, and there's a whole mission tree for that. Caria and eastern mainland Cilicia will be seized by Macedon. Okay, so all four of the other Diadochi get a piece of the Antigonid kingdom, and nobody else. Nobody becomes independent anymore. It's all seized by the other Diadochi. So Thracians, Egyptians, Seleucids, and Macedonians, they each get a slice. And Chalkis becomes the capital of the Antigonid kingdom. Chalkis is over in like northern Mesopotamia area, right? It's like modern day Syria, I think. Don't know. Don't quote me on that. And the Antigonid kingdoms gain Sea King for 240 months. Lose a bunch of loyalty of subject states. Legion maintenance cost minus 50%. That's really good. Probably because you're going to lose all your money, so you'll have no way of paying anybody anyway. Alright, well this looks very interesting. So last week I was very pumped to play as Lysimachus with his with the Thracian mission trees. I'm equally excited to play here with the Antigonid dynasty and of course and Ptolemy too. I bet next week, well not next week there won't be a dev diary, but we're probably going to see one on the Seleucids too. So here's a map before we start reading. This is the Antigonid kingdom reduced to, yeah, I guess after taking that decision, when everybody gets a slice, well no, I don't know, a bunch of independent kingdoms, but the Seleucids here have pushed up all the way to their actual sort of border area. Here's Antioch, around here. So, Antigonid kingdom is reduced to Cyprus, and this little piece of land here, around, Beirut now, Lebanon, I don't know. Interesting. These are all independent. Cappadocia, Phrygia. Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, so Bithynia is its own thing here. Paphlagonia, Pontus. These were independent before. Cappadocia, of course, is a client state at the beginning. So are these. These are tributaries. Very interesting stuff. Okay, so what does this say? Going west, the Antigonids retain only Greece, Cyprus, and the Phoenician city of Tyre. Oh, then when they say Greece, they mean this over here. Okay, this is where Chalkis is. This is where Chalkis is. So this becomes your capital. Wow. So you really lose like everything. You get these little bits here. You get little bits. Interesting. And Cyprus, of course, and then Tyre. This is the area around Tyre. With the Diadochi carving up other territories as they did historically. Caria and Cilicia go the short-lived satrapy of Cassandra's brother Plestarchus, though Macedon may also choose to take the land themselves. So it looks like there's a lot of variation on how this can shake out after Antigonus croaks. While Thrace receives the vassal satrapies of Sardis and Phrygia, ruled by the treacherous governors Docimus and Phoenix, who defected from the Antigonids after their defeat. Okay? So, okay, here's another map, likely showing the eastern heavy path. You hang on to a lot more territory, although Egypt, Ptolemy gets that crowning jewel that the Ptolemies sort of lusted after, which was Cyprus. The Ptolemies loved Cyprus. They did not want the Seleucids or the Antigonids or anybody else controlling it, or the Romans later. Okay, so yeah, this is the first option here for these three. We'll return to reclaim what was lost. So then you move the kingdom to Greece and everything, Chalcas. Okay, this is the second option. We must not let go of a single city. Well, I mean, you're gonna. So this is a much diminished look on the Antigonid kingdom from at least how it's currently in the game. Like Thrace takes all of this here. This isn't how it starts, I don't think. Can't be. No, because, yeah, you have holdings over here. Antigonid holdings that are no longer Antigonid. And Macedon stretching all the way down here now. Interesting. Okay, so here's the second option. What does it say? Staying in the east. Oh, wait, okay. Here we go. Historically, Demetrius and his son Antigonus II went on to dislodge the heirs of Cassandra and other pretenders in Macedon, their family ruling there until those garum-guzzling Romans ousted Antigonus the One-Eyed's great-great-great-grandson Perseus a century and a half later. Not a bad innings. What? Innings. Okay. As a result, going west is required to unlock the next mission tree, which I'll discuss soon. Going west also will temporarily have legion and ship upkeep, allowing the Antigonids to maintain a semblance of power despite their territorial losses. That's what I said. Though their subjects will not be happy to remain under their thumb, will probably try to break loose. That's my little... I added that bit at the end there. Okay, here's the map we already looked at, and then we can talk about it here. Staying in the east, on the other hand, will now cost them Greece, Cyprus... Well, when you say Greece, that's sort of misleading, because you mean the few territories that they have in Greece, not Greeks, okay? Cyprus, Bithynia, Asia, Palestine, and the Euphrates. That's a lot. If they still hold them, that is. Along with the old stability and other malices. Okay, so I'm guessing that this second option is just straight up the most challenging. You're like, we must not let go of a single city, and then boom, everyone's attacking you, even probably up to and probably including your own clients. What's that? The third option? Well, if failure isn't your jam, you can always game on. Game on. Pergamon. Please forgive me. Yeah, that was terrible. That was a terrible pun. That's right. You can switch tags. I knew it. Okay, I called that earlier. That's what the third tag means. You can switch tags to the newborn satrapy of Pergamon, ruled by the Attalids, if they are still around, as subjects of Thrace. Okay, so you become a client state of Thrace. Of course, breaking away from that is not the most difficult prospect in the world. Cool. Okay, if you do, the Antigonids will be taken over by the AI and splinter along the lines of the first option. All right. So they're basically going to be donezo. I mean, they'll have a little bit of land that will be easily gobbled up by more powerful neighbors after their bonus or whatever goes away. Pergamon will, of course, be created shortly after the partition of the Antigonids anyway, if you do not wish to play as them. So Pergamon will come about, and you can choose to be them, and you will not have them at the beginning. So if you want to play as them, and here they are in the background, you can barely sort of see them in this image. In the chaotic fighting over Asia, a new realm has been established by the Attalid family, nobles formerly in the service of the Antigonids, based around Pergamon in Mysia Superioris. It seems their presence has been sanctioned by Lysimachus I Alcimachid of Thrace, whom the Attalid family are notionally serving as governors of the area. Okay, cool. So, that brings, Mithridates. Where's he? Mithridates is also sort of conspicuously missing from the story, more or less. In the fallout, if not before, you may also see Mithridates staking his claim to northern Anatolia. And it's now possible to play as Mithridatic Pontus by starting as CS or Pontus and interact with new events. Good. Good. Yeah, so there not only am I pleased with this Antigonid mission tree and all the different possibilities, the 3 different possibilities that can come from it. You can switch your tag to play as different nations too, depending on circumstances, which is great. And they're also giving you more reason to play nations, civilizations that are not just the Diadochi, like Pontus. I've always wanted to sort of play as these smaller nations, and I have, of course, but they're always wanting for a bit of flavor. So I'm glad that there are events surrounding smaller countries like Pontus, which is on the northern Anatolian coast, of course. Very cool, very cool. Mithridatic ambition. The city of Chios, governed by the Mithridatid family as subjects, has been stirred against their Thracian overlords by the new ruler, Mithridates III, Mithridatid. Mithridates has fled to Paphlagonia using his personal wealth to raise a large following of supporters. Go Mithridates. That would be interesting to play as well. Those changes to the Antigonid splintering, Pergamon, and Mithridates are part of the Marius patch and thus will not require the Heirs of Alexander expansion. Okay, so let's repeat that. All the changes to the Antigonids, unlike some of the things you've seen in the other Heirs of Alexander DLC-related Dev Diaries, this is free with the Marius update. Because I'm guessing, because not to be too cynical about the whole thing, but they can't. You can't. You need this updated version of the Antigonus to run any of the new mechanics that are going to be in this. So if they could sort of monetize it, they would, but it's not feasible because it has to change. All of it has to change in order to have any kind of continuity. You need to have this new version of the Antigonids in the game, Heirs of DLC pack or not. Okay, Macedonian Aspirations. This is another mission tree. And I think the final one. Nope, second to last one. Getting a little bit ahead here. Okay, let's go back. All right. As explained above, this mission will only become available if the Antagonists have failed to achieve their objectives and choose to abandon the East, continuing Demetrius' campaigns in Greece. I wanted to give the player a choice between surviving in Syria or returning to Macedon to carve out a new home. That's an excellent choice. Thank you so much, Joe. You're Joe. Thank you, Joe. This is definitely a choice that we deserve to have. Thank you for that. And add content that not only allows for the fall of the Antagonids, but adds to the game as a result. It's also an interesting change to give up one of the largest Hellenistic realms and start again from scratch. I would love to experience that personally. I think I'm going to be taking the third option a lot more. Well, no, that's not true. I'm going to try out all 3 Antigonid options, and I guess fail Corinth intentionally or something. I don't know. I feel like you should check out my series with the Antagonids. I've figured out a pretty good way to snatch up Corinth early on. It's not that hard. I wonder if that's going to change. Okay, so we're looking here at the Macedonian Aspirations mission tree. So this has to do, of course, with the Greek region, the area around Greece, not Greece, Macedon, excuse me, but a little bit to the north. And you're trying to have hegemony over Peloponnese and mainland Greece anyway. Epirus, League of Corinthos, all of this stuff, Antigonid royalty. Cool. So we can't tell exactly what these are, but we can guess that it's Greek/Macedon heavy. The main branch focuses on conquering Macedon. There you go. With diplomatic options based on historical events and the ability to complete certain Greek-focused tasks from the previous mission that were not completed before Antigonus' death. Well, that's nice. Thank you. Although I don't know how that's going to work, but oh well. Dynastic relevance. Royal marriage. Okay, this is an event. Yeah, you can marry Demetrius off at the beginning of the game. Currently. Anyway, are they going to make this a bigger deal? Because they totally should. Our envoys are pleased to report that the Seleucids have accepted our offer, agreeing to the marriage of Seleucus I, Nicator Seleucid, and Stratonic Antigonid, and win the joining of our homes. and with it the joining of our homes. Rich banquets and festivals will accompany the occasion of their union in Seleucia Magele. Let us hope this is the blessed start of a lasting friendship, whatever our differences have been in the past. To Seleucos and Stratonike. Okay, this has happened. The Antigonid family gains prestige, legitimacy. Seleucids gain opinion and get a truce until 473. Alright, so this is a way of sort of not having to fight the Seleucids, I'm guessing. Historically, Demetrius was well treated by the other Diadochi immediately after Ipsus, their diplomacy with him indicating that his legitimacy and usefulness as a rightful king was not diminished by the near total loss of his lands. Seleucus going so far as to marry Demetrius' daughter. Oh, right. So Demetrius currently, at the beginning of the game, you get the choice to marry him off, I think. And this is a new event to marry Demetrius' daughter to Seleucus. Cool. Though the warm relations quickly faded once it became clear her father had not accepted defeat. Okay, so Demetrius wanted basically the Seleucid lands back that used to be Antigonid. Thessalian fetter, Demetrius inaugurated. Cool, so this is Demetrius becoming what, king of Macedon? Not clear. This green up here looks like Thrace. So the Thracians are controlling Macedon. Who knows? Our workmen have completed the structures of the new city of Demetrius near the old port town of Pagasae and the historic Thessalian city of Pherae. Its populations have been moved to the new lodgings at this site. This new strategic garrison will surely prosper, lying between Macedon and Greece by land and sea as well. Okay, so I guess you inaugurate your kingdom in Thessaly by building a city named after yourself. How very Macedonian. By securing Thessaly, the historic port of Demetrius may be founded as a bastion of Antigonid power in northern Greece. So I guess I did not know that. I did not know that Demetrius' main power holding was in Thessaly. I thought it was in Macedonia. I don't know. I don't know about the historicity of that, but cool. The historic port city of Demetrias may be founded as a bastion of Antigonid power in northern Greece and a lasting stamp of Demetrius' influence on the region. Okay, Antigonid Kingdom has annexed the territory of Alexandros Antipatris. Oh, so you can just annex Macedonia. Basilius Demetrius met with Alexandros in his campaign tent, where they exchanged cautious platitudes. It seems both were seeking to put the other at ease and thus off their guard. After some days of this, Demetrius heard Alexandros was planning his murder at a banquet and struck first, the foolish brat having left himself completely unguarded. Though initially horrified, Alexandros' subjects have wisely acclaimed Demetrius their king, passing the Macedonian mantle to the heir of Antigonus, who even now secures oaths from their officers. By their own follies they perish. Sweet. So you just annex the Macedonian land, and then you keep the Antigonid kingdom tag, or you switch to Macedonia. You'll probably give you a choice. Okay, given the right circumstances, the Antagonists can also benefit from the infighting of Cassander's sons and the quest for Macedonian clay as they did historically. Cool. Antigonid Birthright. The final tree relies on the second having been completed and gives the Antigonids an incentive for alt history reconquest, returning to reclaim their lost lands in Asia. This imagines a scenario in which the Antigonids are more daring and less willing to forfeit the dynasty's achievements than historically, allowing them to move your center of power back to Antigonus' capital and avenge the defeat of your founder if you so wish. Yeah, I like that option. So Cyprus is going to be a deal. Phrygia, ports of the east to Gaza. So it sounds just that classic Antigonid era, the Eastern Mediterranean. You have to fight for it. You're going to fight for it, not in Greece. Notably, not in Greece. The branches of this tree guide you in reconquering important parts of the Old Kingdom, such as Cyprus, Phrygia, and Phoenicia, creating a dominant, again, notably not mainland Greece, creating a dominant naval presence in the Eastern Mediterranean once more, and recreating the historical subjects you may have lost previously, such as the Ionian and Aeolian leagues, if so desired. Restore the leagues. Is that, restore Antigonia, that's the city. Restore the leagues. Is that a mission? I don't see it. Oh, there it is. Wow, that's a big one. Okay, so you have to completely own these areas. Then you get another catch and release. Okay, so you can release Ionia and Aeolus as feudatories. They gain a bunch of loyalty. And get a bunch of manpower and tribute for 120 months, 5 years. 10 years. 10 years. And loyalty over for 300 months. That's what, 50 years? Wow. Okay, claiming the land of your ancestors will, of course, prove the ultimate victory of the Antigonid dynasty as Macedonian successors, whatever defeats they may have suffered in the past, and finally avenge the treachery of those who betrayed Alexander's most capable successor. Well, he was that. Antigonid victory, kingdom of our founder. Well, can you deify him, though? The gods love humility, huh? Okay, so this is Antigonus II, Demetrius' son. I think he's born already at the beginning of the game, I'm not sure. We have at last proven, by sword or stylus, to all who sought to challenge our supremacy over the Macedonian... There's a typo here. It's a typo. Hey, Paradox, there's a typo. That the Antigonids are the rightful inheritors of Alexander's empire, able to unite the East and West. Well, yeah, we didn't kill off the Argads either, unlike some Diadochi, the Cassanders, regrouping, or the Antipatrids, Cassander of whom was one, regrouping after every setback, victorious in the end and ever after. This marks the dawn of a new era of the world, ruled justly by a Macedonian kingdom, centered where East and West meet. If we can but hold together the kingdom that Antigonus lost all those years ago. Hail the victor! Hail Basilios Antigonus! Antigonus II Gonatus Antigonid gains the Nicator nickname. Not sure what that means. 15 popularity. Monthly legitimacy 0.05 for 50 years. Sweet. Culture happiness plus 10%. That's good. Those are some good buffs right there. Definitely decent rewards. And that's the end. Oh, wow, okay. Phew. You made it this far. Your patience will furnish you well until the release of the Marius patch and Heirs of Alexander patch expansion. Heirs of Alexander expansion. Until next time. Okay, so that is it. A very long and extensive dev diary looking at the Antigonid mission trees and all the various things that might happen with the Antigonid kingdom. Already one of the more interesting and dynamic options to play in Imperator Rome. So I want to know what you think. I am, again, very excited for all of this content to come out. Another home run, as far as I'm concerned, from the team over at Imperator Rome. This is needed. This is good historical... I don't know how to say it. It's excellent in terms of the historical route. And they also give you the choice to do some alt history. I love it. That's how this game is supposed to be. You have your general history and then you divert from that history. And you play it out however you would like and however it makes sense to you. I'm very much looking forward to taking over as one of the Antigonid Kingdom successor states. I'm looking forward to trying out their fate in Greece. Looking forward to trying out their fate in Asia. And of course, that only happens if you fail the first option, which is just to keep maintain the status quo by taking Corinth in a peace deal. You have to make peace before Antigonus' death. Alright, so this will change a lot. What do you think? Please let me know in the comments down below. If you liked this, if you enjoyed this video or found any of the content informative, please drop a like, hit that bell notification button so you don't miss any of my newest videos. Make sure to subscribe if you have not already. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.